Alright, what's going on, you guys? Paul here with Paul's Performance, and on today's video we're going to be doing a front wheel hub bearing assembly on a 2000 F-350 with a 7.3 power stroke 4-wheel drive. We're here on the right front wheel, which is the original culprit for the bad bearing, and if you give it a quick listen you can kind of hear it turning. It should be nice and quiet if it had a good, nice greased bearing, but it unfortunately does not. I have seen worse. This one's not as bad, but you can hear it. It's making noise while you're riding in the front, so we're gonna have to get it swapped. As you can see, we have the wheel removed already, which is a very simple task. And I also have the brake caliper assembly removed, and the reason for this was for diagnostics. If you're uncertain of where the noise is coming from, brake pads will actually create a tiny little bit of scraping noise. If you just unbolt the brake caliper and get it, I have it sitting back behind the wheel, get it out of the way. That way you rule out any sort of brake caliper pad noise, because the pads will scrape a little bit as the rotor turns. Now that everything's off of it, you can tell that the noise is still coming from the hub, which is pointing towards the bad wheel bearings. So the first step obviously would be wheel and caliper. Go ahead and get that stuff off, but this is a dually, so we're gonna have to remove this dually front hub adapter. It's got some 21mm nuts that hold it on, so we're gonna get that out. And what I'm gonna do is, it has these holes in the hub. I'm gonna stick a little extension through and go to the 21mm shallow, hook it up to my gun, and we're gonna remove that one by one, just like that. So I'm gonna get these gone and we'll be right back. All right, so we got all those 21mm nuts off, and the adapter is probably not gonna just fall off of there. It is, basically hub centric. It's up on a hub, so it's usually gonna be very tight. But just take your hammer and try to tap it off nice and even. You don't want to just hit one side. You can spin it, and then there you go. Get your hub, and you can go ahead and take your rotor as well and get your rotor off of there. And now we're going to move to our hub assembly. We're going to start by removing this clip. Just squeeze it together. I'll say that. There we go. We'll get our clip off, and our hub's just going to pull right out of there. And then on the inside of the hub, for this particular one, you're going to have one snap ring, so we're going to grab our snap ring pliers. We're going to slide that snap ring right up out of there. I said we was. And then it has these little shims. Make sure you pay attention as to the order that these come out of. You don't want to put those in backwards, but as you can see, it's a round hex and then another round. So we're going to set that in order right on top of our hub over there. So now we have all of our stuff off of the hub, so the hub can come out, but it has 4 bolts on the back side that you're going to have to get to, and they are also 21mm. Now the way to get these off, or the easiest way, is to have the wheel turned all the way one way, and you can get to these two back here. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to get my long breaker bar flex head ratchet, and I'm going to get it back here, and I'm going to get onto this nut, and I'm going to break it loose. And I'm going to break these loose. Now this side I already have removed, but that's basically all there is to it. Turn it this way and get these two off, and it'll be, like I said, it's 4 nuts on each side, but we have these two off. So now we're going to turn the wheel all the way this way so that we can get to the other side. So we got the wheel turned in the opposite direction so we could get these other 2 bolts off of the hub assembly. These are what they look like. They're 21mm, and they have the formed in flange for the washer. If you do happen to get these confused with the hub bolts, which are also 21mm, the hub bolts do not have the washer flange. So just a quick note on that. The ones with the washer flange go to the hub. The ones without it will go to the dually adapter. So now that we have those off, the hub can come off, but first we're going to have to get our ABS sensor wire undone, and the connector is actually connected right back here onto the back of your fender well. and we're gonna unplug that. And then we have a connector going into the frame. We're gonna pop that out. We're gonna pop it off here at the brake line. And then we're gonna feed that out of there. And then the only other thing we have is we have it bolted down right here to the wheel with the 8mm nut. And now that we have that out, it is now ready for the hub to exit the chat. And as you can see, there's our 4 studs, and there's our bearing assembly, the old hub as it comes off of there. This whole assembly is going to come with new studs, new sensor, and all that. The only thing that you will have to bring over will be this little shield here. Now pay attention to how this shield goes on here. That way you don't put it on backwards or anything. So we're going to go get the new one and directly transfer straight over to the new one, and then we're gonna reverse everything for install. So we got our new hub assembly right here, as you can see, all nice shiny and black. This one is actually a CarQuest Premium. I've had pretty good luck with the CarQuest Premium brand. Now we're gonna take this shield and we're gonna slide it out, noting how it went on and how this cable was ran. And we're gonna slide this cable right back in the exact same position. And there we go, we have it installed on the new one. And this one come with the studs not installed, as you can see. So we're gonna have to install them. Depending on which one you get, it may come installed. We're gonna put some red Loctite on them. We don't want them to go anywhere, so we're gonna get some Loctite in there. And we're gonna spin them down until they stop, which basically will be when they run out of threads. The thread's the same on both sides for these, so it doesn't really matter which way you do it, but just thread it all the way down until it stops, and get all 4 of those in there, and then we'll come back. We got all 4 studs spun all the way down tight with some Loctite on them. I've installed some grease just in here to help with installation. These bearings are sealed up, that's why they replaced the whole hub. Bearings internally have grease and they're sealed up, but I like to install a little bit on this and just a little bit on my shaft to help ease the installation. And then also you can put a little bit of grease on your O-ring just to help it slide in there. You want to make sure that your interior mating surface where your O-ring is going to be is nice and clean. That way you don't ruin your seal. So you want to get you a rag and wipe up, get any dirt, oil out of there, and then if you want to, you can put you a little bit of grease on that as well to help with installation. And so now we're going to pick up our assembly and we're going to slide her back in here. And once you get to the O-ring, it's going to stop, so you're going to have to kind of give it a little push. And now that it's in there, you'll reinstall those 4 nuts. So we're going to get those 4 nuts installed, which will pull it up in there the rest of the way, and then we're going to come back and start installation of our hub. So we got our 4 nuts back installed, and our hub is now mounted up to the truck. So we're going to start with just going ahead and getting our locking hub installed. So we're going to get our shims back in the correct order, and we're going to slide those in there. Make sure you got them greased up a little bit when you stick them back. So we got some grease in there. We're going to slide that in. We're going to grab our lock ring here. We're going to get that in here and push it up in there. And you're going to want to hear it pop. I like to hear it pop into the place. That way I know it's in the groove. And there we go. So now that we got that in there, you can put your hub in there. I'm going to put some grease into our hub just to be safe and to make for an ease of manual locking. We're going to get that up in there, and then we're going to shoot that right there. We're going to wipe off the grease, and then we're going to grab our ring for the hub, and we're going to get that installed. Make sure it's in there, give her a good yank, and now our hub's installed. So next we're going to go with our ABS sensor wire. So we're going to start here at the 8mm bolt. We're going to get that mounted right up into this And we're gonna dangle that over here for now, because we need to get our brake line back into the correct place so we can mount this up. So now we're gonna mount up our rotor, just like so. And then we're gonna get our dually adapter. And we're gonna get that installed. And then we're gonna come back and we're gonna install these 21mm nuts all the way around. And I like to put a little bit of blue Loctite on them. And now we're gonna mount our caliper assembly back up. I also like to put some Loctite on those bolts. I don't really want any of this stuff to come off. So we're gonna get those 2 bolts installed. And this is just the mounting bracket for the caliper. And then once we get that mounted up, we're gonna install our pads back into the mounting bracket. Don't forget your spring clips. And then once we have the caliper assembly back on, we'll come back and we'll do the ABS wire. So now we're gonna route the wire for our ABS sensor. It should go back to here and plug in. So we'll go ahead and get that plugged in here. And then we'll mount this back up into the fender well. And then, as you can see, it has these little pop-ons, and it has these little rubber grommet looking pieces on the cable. So that's what you're gonna want to pop this into. And once you get those 2 popped in, you have your cable ran, and that is now good to go. Now that you got that, everything's back together. It is now completed and ready to throw your wheel back on and go for a test drive. Make sure when you put your wheels on, always torque your wheels, especially aluminum, which this truck has. These trucks should be anywhere from 150 to 165 foot-pounds, so always torque your wheels. Do not give it the ugga-duggas. You could crack your wheel, warp your wheel. Your wheel could come loose, so always torque them. Now we're completed, we're gonna get the wheel back on and go for a test drive. All right guys, so we're in the truck now, going down the highway, giving it a good test drive. Always verify your repairs, especially as a mechanic, just to make sure the customer doesn't find that it's still not fixed. So as you can see, we don't have any loud, roaring noise. What we had before was in the front right, we actually had a noise that almost sounded like you were running a mud tire on the front, but he has road tires. So it's not the worst, it wasn't a screech, it wasn't pulling, but sometimes when they get really bad, they'll actually pull to the right or pull to the left, depending on how far along the bearing is, or they'll make really loud screeching noises. This one was in the early stages, so all it was just starting to get noisy, and it kind of sounded like a loud tire. But now it's nice and quiet and smooth, so we got the repair fixed. That's how you guys change out front wheel bearings on a 4-wheel drive dually 2000 F-350. All right guys, so until next time, please like and subscribe, leave any comments if you haven't, and see you guys next time.